the writing component of the test. How do you do that? What do you have to do? Well, whatever your teachers are using, whatever the schools are using to teach students to type in the language, Apple is designed to use that. So there's nothing special needed there. They just have to activate whatever they're already using to have the students type in the language. All right. So we've covered technology, test logins. Let's talk about proctoring. So again, on your Apple guide, right, and again, it's apple.appl.org/apple-guide, and we're going to send those to you. Proctoring is here. So you're going to click on this link, and it's going to give you proctoring guidelines. You'll want to read through this. It's a little more than a page, but there's nothing earth-shattering here. Students should not be, you should not see any phones out, no smartphones, no pens and paper. They shouldn't be talking to each other. If a student has a problem with a test, with technology, everyone should be sure not to help the student with the test, only with the technology. Students should not be asking for help on how to answer a question. No one should be providing that. They shouldn't be talking to each other, and it's very important to make sure that the noise level in the room where the test is taking place is quiet. This is especially important because during the speaking component of the test, we are recording the students' spoken responses, and Apple certified raters will be listening to those recordings and then scoring and rating them. So if there's too much background noise from too much talking taking place, they're going to have a problem hearing the students' spoken responses, and they're not going to be able to rate the tests. So proctors, it's your responsibility to keep the noise level to a minimum in the room, and that is done by keeping the students from talking to each other. Let's see what else I can highlight here for you. Sometimes you'll get students recording, not taking the test seriously. They may be using profanity. You can certainly alert and warn the students that if they do this, their teachers will be listening to the recordings, will certainly have access to the recordings. And that may be reported to the teachers if there's some really unusual things are said. At least it'll be accessible for the teachers, because all of these recordings and writing samples can be accessed by the teachers. So you might want to alert them to that. At the end of the test, you should go around the room and collect those stickers that should be hanging on the side of the computer monitors with the students' logins and passwords. Proctor should remain in the room at all times, of course. If the computer freezes up for any reason, 9 times out of 10, that's because there has been some sort of drop in the internet speed in the building. At least 9 times out of 10, if not more. Any problem you're going to have is because your internet speed has dropped. Maybe because somebody is streaming Netflix in the teacher lounge, or somebody somewhere is doing something. So it's another reason why it's important for the IT staff to be aware that the test is going to be taking place during the specific windows that it will be taking place. Perhaps they can be monitoring the internet speed or assuring that nothing else is going to take place on campus that could interfere with the speed. Support. Number one, most important thing to do if a student encounters any technological difficulty during the test is to begin with local IT. You should have access to local IT staff. Again, they should know that this testing is taking place and preferably be reachable because they're going to be the most helpful people if something is taking place. Also, most of the time, if there is a problem, the student can log out and launch the browser again. If that doesn't work, switching to a different browser sometimes helps. But that will solve most, if not all, of the problems. And again, that can happen even if, internet speed has dropped. It could cause a freeze up. Like with any web service or any video or anything that you do on the internet, if your internet speed suddenly really drops and comes back, you may have to close the browser and relaunch it. 9 times out of 10, that will solve it. If not, and if your IT staff can't solve the problem, we're here to support you. 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. Eastern Time, Monday through Friday. We're available by phone at this toll-free number, or if you can't call toll-free from the school, we've got this toll number, and here's our support email as well. All right, so we've talked about technology down here at the bottom. We've talked about accessing your logins. We've talked about technology issues that could occur during testing. We've talked about printing the labels of the student logins. That kind of covers all the administrative aspects I have here. Let me stop and take some questions from you now. And if you're asking any questions, make sure to unmute your microphones, because we all make that mistake. Your microphones are probably muted, so if you have a question, please ask. Please make sure to unmute your mic.
Well, our
so Eric, this is Julie. Oh, go ahead.
Hi, go ahead.
Hi, sorry, this is Carrie New. I just wanted to know if our logins will give us access to just our class or school or the whole state of Utah.
Hi, Carrie. How are you?
Good.
Okay, so your teachers will have only access to their own students' data. You school-level administrators will have access to all of the school data. District-level administrators will have access to all district data.
Okay, thank you.
Sure. Other questions?
Eric, Brett, this is Julie Quinn at USBE. Could you show schools where they're going to be manually adding students if they're not included in the state upload, and could you also show them how to access the reports after the testing is done?
Absolutely. So to manually order a test for individual students or outside of the state, let me ask you this, Julie. If they're manually ordering individual tests, would that be something that is paid for by the state, or are you thinking that that would be something that would be paid for locally?
No, this is all under the state contract, assuming we resolve the contract payment issues.
We declare on every 560 sheet.
No problem. So,
sorry, there's multiple people talking.
Do not ask you a question. You must mute your microphone.
And then we schedule and
Close to me. Is that me?
Whoever you are, please mute your mic. There we go. Thank you. Okay, so to order.
So, Brett, let me just add to the school folks who are on the call. So here at USBE, we have sent LTI the list of students that were enrolled in the DLI course codes as of like yesterday-ish. So one of the first tasks, as soon as LTI gets those students loaded, which we will be letting your district coordinators know as soon as that happens, you'll need to. We've given LTI permission to allow you to request tests manually in the system. However, if you do that, you need to make sure that you enter the student's information exactly like it is in the SIS system so that we can validate them. Because then when we get that test record back for the student, if we can't match that student record against a viable student record that's at USBE from your SIS system, then we're going to have to go back and do a data validation process with each district and school. So we're asking that you very, very carefully enter students manually only if you have verified and maybe checked with your district to verify who or who is not included in that upload from the state. I hope that makes sense. I'm happy to answer questions about that.
And I'm going to ask that people not ask questions on this call about that because I have a hard stop coming up shortly. So for our purposes on this call, you know, for my training of AAPPL policies and procedures and how to use it, we'll just keep it to what I can show you. But if they have questions on that, can they contact you offline, Julie?
Yes, it would be best if the school level folks contacted your district or LEA point of contact for AAPPL first, and then work through what they know about the data exchange from their side, and then, you know, let me know, or they can let me know if it's not resolved from there.
Great, thank you. All right, so let me get to Julie's question about how to order tests. So to do that, when you're logged into your client site, you'll go to that main menu, and you're going to click on Test Requests. Test Requests. And by the way, this is also in your AAPPL guide, okay? So to order tests, click on Test Requests, okay? So here we are. We clicked on Test Requests. You won't see this all other tests because for USBE, there's only AAPPL. You'll click Submit. Your email will automatically be programmed in, as will your name and your contact info. You will answer that you will proctor the test, and then you'll click on Retrieve Test Request Template. Please do not ignore these instructions. It's in red for a reason because it's really important. All of these instructions are really important. It's not a lot. We beg you to read them so that you don't make errors and then kind of get stuck and call us for support. So you're going to click on that Retrieve Test Request Template button, and what's going to come up is the order form, the AAPPL order form. It's a spreadsheet, and it has these required fields that you must enter student information in order to order the test. So you have to put all of this. You cannot delete any columns or add any columns or make any changes to the headings. You can only enter information in the required fields to order your tests. And it tells you exactly what to do. So for speaking, you must enter an X if you're testing speaking. Enter an X if you're testing writing, okay? So it's very self-explanatory, and you have some custom fields here. And I know, Julie, the state has some custom information that's already programmed in. So that will actually come up for you.
So Brett, on that template, that student ID in column E, I'm assuming that's the SSID we are using in the upload. Is that correct?
Well, we don't have any requirements for that, so you would designate that, but I would say that is correct.
Yeah, I would need that to be the state SSID, not the LEA ID. So it's not the kid's lunch number out of the SIS system. It's the SSID. For those of you who are familiar with our SAGE system, that's also the student's ID there. So it's the state SSID because I'm going to take that SSID, that name, and gender, and school and district, and that's what we're going to try and match the kids against in our warehouse.
All right, so you'll enter that. And Julie, I guess they will also have guidelines that if they're ordering tests, whether they should, order Form A or Form B of the test and so forth. So I imagine you'll be providing that to them.
Yeah, I believe Greg Roberts has already been in communication with all of the schools. Great. So if any schools have any questions about which forms have been authorized for you to administer, then let Greg know. And then Brett, we'll probably need to talk about what happens when schools request tests other than what's been authorized.
Right. And that would require setting up a separate account for them if there are any things that are not authorized, if it's not going to be paid for by USBE. So that'll be a separate, they would contact us separately for that, and we'd create a separate account so that USBE doesn't get charged for anything that's not authorized. So once you enter the data into your test request template that we just looked at, you're going to save it into your computer, right? So you're going to launch it, you're going to fill it out. Once you fill it out, you're going to go File, Save As, right? I haven't filled it out yet, so there's no Save As. But you'll do File, Save As, you'll save it in your computer. Once you've saved it, you're going to go back into your client site and you're going to find it. And you're going to double click on it, and then you're going to submit it. And it's going to get submitted into the client site, and your tests will be ordered. So that's how you order tests. Let me show you how to look at test results. So when you're going to look at test results, you're going to go back into your Apple test status. You'll click Search All Records. And again, you can filter. Right? You can look at, if you're a teacher, you can sort, you'll just, you won't actually need to filter that way because you'll only see your own data. But you can say, I only want to look at, this grade level, or students who have had, this many years of study, right? And so you can sort that data any way you want. You can export it to Excel. Come out in a nice, neat, clean Excel sheet. You'll have to say yes. It'll ask you if you trust the website to download a spreadsheet. Comes out all nice and neat. First name, last name, test start date, language, speaking, writing, listening, reading scores. Okay. And then also, another thing you can do is go to Print Certificates. And from here, you'll enter a start date. Well, let me make sure I get something in here because this is my demo site. You'll get the student's records, and you will click Get Certificates. There's an individual student report, individualized report. Let me show you what that looks like. So the individualized student report on the Apple website, if you want to look at a sample of that. So you're going to go to apple.org. That'll take you here. It's a shortcut. Click on Scores. Click on Sample Apple Score Reports available here. And you'll see an Apple Test Certificate. I'm scrolling to page 2 because that's the individualized student report. I'll shrink it down a little. And if you check that box that we were looking at here, that box will include the first page with the report so that when it prints, we'll also give this explanation, this explanatory detail on the rating scale and how it equates to the AAPPL proficiency guidelines. So there's all this additional information for moms and dads if you want to print that out and send it home. It gives a score and a score description, an explanation of what it means to be at that level, and also gives strategies for students to get to the next level. And note that it gives a separate score for each skill. So here's your speaking component. It's the interpersonal listening and speaking. Here's your reading component, your listening component, and your writing component of the test. And again, all of this is included in the Apple Guide. So your scores and reports, Wait a second. Get the Apple Guide here. Here's the Apple Guide. So getting your test data, reading the writing responses, listening to the student responses, all that is explained here. You're going to be able to listen to their responses and read their responses, as I mentioned. Let's go back into the client site here for you. All right, so again, you'll check that box if you want the second page that that gives the the in-depth, detailed explanation of what the score report is reporting and what the rating scale is and what it's pegged to, the actual performance descriptors, which are related to the actual proficiency guidelines. So if you want to include all that. Other questions? Okay, I want to thank you all. We are here to support you. We're certainly, if you have other questions, they can certainly funnel their way up through us, Julie. But we'll certainly be, as I said, providing logins and passwords for your teachers. The Apple Guide will be made available to them. And we are here to support you during testing. And we thank you and we look forward to working with you.
Great. Thanks so much, Brett. Did we record today's presentation?
We did not.
So we're going to have to figure out a way to get this information posted to the website so schools can have this who aren't able to participate today. We were unable to provide a backup recording from our office today, so I was hoping you guys were taking care of that.
I see Emily Sweeten says she recorded it.
Let's double check. Oh, Emily, you did? Okay, we'll just bill that back to you, LTI.
Great. Send that right to me personally to my house, please.
Perfect. Yeah. I know that round bin, that's going to go right in.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks so much, Brett. Appreciate it today. Schools, if you guys have any questions, we know this is a very, very quick implementation this year of the assessment for your dual language immersion students. Please let us know how we can help you and help your districts pull this off in less than 10 days now. The window opens. So thank you very much for your efforts locally to try and implement this. Let us know how we can help you.
Thank you. We appreciate you.
All right. Take care,
Bye-bye.
Brett.
Thanks, Julie. Bye-bye.